had said earlier that it looked like fuel being poured on the fire. So that was the moment that I decided that I was going to resign, that would be my last day at the White House. I simply didn't want to be associated with the events that were unfolding on the Capitol.
Thank you. And Ms. Matthews, what was your reaction to the president's tweet about Vice President Pence?
So it was obvious that the situation at the Capitol was violent and escalating quickly. And so I thought that the tweet about the vice president was the last thing that was needed in that moment. And I remember thinking that this was going to be bad for him to tweet this, because it was essentially him giving the green light to these people, telling them that what they were doing at the steps of the Capitol and entering the Capitol was okay, that they were justified in their anger. And he shouldn't have been doing that. He should have been telling these people to go home and to leave and to condemn the violence that we were seeing. And I'm someone who has worked with him. You know, I worked on the campaign, traveled all around the country, going to countless rallies with him, and I've seen the impact that his words have on his supporters. They truly latch on to every word and every tweet that he says. And so I think that in that moment, for him to tweet out the message about Mike Pence, it was him pouring gasoline on the fire and making it much worse.
Thank you both. And let's watch what others also told us about their reactions to this tweet.
I don't remember when exactly I heard about that tweet, but my reaction to it is that's a terrible tweet, and I disagreed with the sentiment, and I thought it was wrong.
What was your reaction when you saw that tweet?
Extremely unhelpful. It wasn't the message that we needed at that time. It wasn't going to the scenes at the U.S. Capitol were only getting worse at that point. This was not going to help that.
We're concerned it made it worse.
Certainly.
Ms. Hutchinson, what was your reaction when you saw this tweet?
As a staffer that works to always represent the administration to the best of my ability and to showcase the good things that he had done for the country, I remember feeling frustrated, disappointed, and really, it felt personal. I was really sad. As an American, I was disgusted. It was unpatriotic. It was un-American. We were watching the Capitol building get defaced over a lie.
As you will see, at 2:26, the vice president had to be evacuated to safety a second time and came within 40 feet of the rioters. The attack escalated quickly right after the tweet. During this chaos, what did President Trump do at that point? He went back to calling senators to try to further delay the electoral count. While the vice president was being evacuated from the Senate, President Trump called Senator Tommy Tuberville, one of his strongest supporters in the Senate. As Senator Tuberville later recalled, he had to end the call so that he could evacuate the Senate chamber himself. Let's listen.
He didn't call my phone, called somebody else, and they handed it to me, and I basically told him, I said, Mr. President, we're not doing much work here right now because they just took our vice president out, and matter of fact, I'm gonna have to hang up on you. I've got to leave.
Senator Josh Hawley also had to flee. Earlier that afternoon, before the joint session started, he walked across the east front of the Capitol. As you can see in this photo, He raised his fist in solidarity with the protesters already amassing at the security gates. We spoke with a Capitol police officer who was out there at the time. She told us that Senator Hawley's gesture riled up the crowd, and it bothered her greatly because he was doing it in a safe space, protected by the officers and the barriers. Later that day, Senator Hawley fled after those protesters he helped to rile up stormed the Capitol. See for yourself.
Oh, that's rich. That is rich.
Think about what we've seen. Undeniable violence at the Capitol. The vice president being evacuated to safety by the Secret Service. Senators running through the hallways of the Senate to get away from the mob. As the commander-in-chief, President Trump was oath and duty bound to protect the Capitol. His senior staff understood that.
Do you believe, Jared, that the president has an obligation to ensure a peaceful transfer of power?
Yes.
And do you think the president has an obligation to defend all three branches of our government?
I believe so.
And I assume you also would agree the president has a particular obligation to take care that the laws be faithfully executed.
That is one of the president's obligations, correct?
No, I mean, I asked what his duty is.
Well, I mean, there's a constitutional duty. What he has, he's the commander-in-chief. And that was the issue. That was my biggest issue with him as national security advisor.
Rather than uphold his duty to the Constitution, President Trump allowed the mob to achieve the delay that he hoped would keep him in power. I reserve.
The gentlewoman reserves. I request that those in the hearing room remain seated until the Capitol Police have escorted members and witnesses from the room. I now declare the committee in recess for a period of approximately 10 minutes.
All right, so the committee now in recess, and I mean, listen, what have we learned so far? It's confirmation of things we already suspected, with more evidence and more corroboration. You know, Cassidy Hutchinson testified, and she was immediately accused, without any evidence that she was lying, she was accused of just making it all up. And yet we've got Pat Cipollone corroborating the things that she said, he said, and all of these things are all... It's confirmation that the witnesses have, by and large, been truthful where they remember. There were gaps in what Trump did, as is being pointed out in the chat, and we're filling in what those gaps were. What was happening during the 7-hour break in the call log and the 4-hour break in visitor log? Well, he was mostly watching Fox News with a rotating cast of characters coming by and saying, you should say something, you should do something, you should try to dissuade these people, and Donald Trump saying, no, I don't want to do that. That's essentially what it has been. And in that sense, it's relevant as it helps fill those gaps in. Let's take a look at what people are saying. Oh, we have we've got a lot of stuff going in. NH Barrick says, how about Packonomics for the finance channel? Yes, we will consider that one. We will consider that one. Let's listen to some voicemails that have been coming in.
Hi, David. I agree with the earlier caller that your financial show can be this wonderful thing for the gay community. I think you should call it the Jesse Lee Peterson Show.
What the hell? What the hell is that about? All right. Well.
Hey, Mr. Pac-Man. This is Thunder from California once again. Just a question. What is everybody's issue with trans people? I don't understand. Like, they don't affect most people's lives. Most people don't even know anybody who's trans, but everybody's so concerned about it in the media. Let me know your thoughts. Thank you, sir.
Is it true that most people don't even know anyone who's trans? That's an interesting question. I don't know the answer to that. It's an empirical question. I guess in theory, they might not know that they know someone who's trans also. It's sort of like when people go, I never met a Jew growing up, and it's like, well, maybe you just didn't know that the person was Jewish. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, I mean, I don't really understand the obsession. Here's another voicemail.
Hey, David. Ron DeSantis is handing out some checks for several $100s to offset the inflation, but I thought that that's what caused inflation, according to these Republicans. So isn't that just going to cause more inflation, and then you're going to have to give out more checks and then more inflation or something?
We've talked about that. I'm not going to go into that right now, but it's certainly a topic.
So anyways, I was thinking about how like our morality is set up in a way where we agree on that the individual here in America is more important than like what your family did or what, like the collaborative vibe.
Man, Whitney's back, but I'm kind of like tuned out on it. Haley from Georgia. Holly, fist up and then just out. Immediately out. Absolutely. That's exactly what he did. Tyler says, my dad is a trans woman and is a staunch Republican. Trans people exist and are allowed to be people. Imagine that. Imagine that. Okay, if you're just joining us, let me catch you up on things going on related to the show. Number one, we are going to be starting a personal finance channel. It will be all personal finance content. It will not be in the news and politics vertical. Some people saying, David, sir, why not just put the personal finance clips on your main channel? Well, our main channel is in the news and politics vertical. You want the content to match the vertical you're in. You want the ads to match the vertical you're in. So if we're exclusively going to be doing some personal finance stuff, we're going to do it in its own channel. That's where you come in. What should the channel be called? I will read to you some of the suggestions that have come in. Dollar Daddy, The Financial Show, The Price of Mangoes, Making Sense with David Pakman, Pack Your Money, The Oranges of Finance, From the Standpoint of Finance, Fiscal Therapy, Mind Your Money, Dave's Dough. Those are the ones that have come in so far. If you have a suggestion for the personal finance channel, email info@davidpakman.com. You can skip emailing Pack Money. Everybody's thought of that. Everybody's thought of that. Secondly, Tuesday, next Tuesday, July 26th, 6 p. East, 3 p. West, is the next town hall. And it'll be live on the Pakman Live channel, and I hope you'll be there. What if I called the channel Troth Central? Yeah, that's not a bad idea. So that'll be Tuesday at 6. I hope you will join. It would be a really, really great thing. Now, I have to actually do something very special. I didn't even realize this, but YouTube now allows the gifting of memberships, and Graveborn has gifted 100 memberships on YouTube, putting us at 671. I'm going to do something we've never, ever, ever done before. I'm making the goal 750. We've never even come close to touching that. But we're going for it. We're going for it today. All right? Jennifer suggesting David does finance. Justin suggests Troth Financial. Troth Financial as the name. Super chat's coming in. Troth Financial, says Steve. Somebody else said it earlier, but I like Packonomics. That's an interesting idea. Number of different ideas. Voicemails continue to dump in.
Hey, David. Doug from South Dakota. I was thinking about the 2024 election and the Republicans. It doesn't really matter who's elected. Whoever it is, as far as Republicans, they're going to pardon Trump, even if it's not 2024. What are your thoughts?
In the sky.
Thanks.
I don't know that that's true
Ikora's
at all.
always full of surprises. Show those
Do not know
squatters
that that's
the
true
door
at all.
and get this party started.
Sean is suggesting Deepak-onomics.
Take it, incoming. Our bonfire won't
New
grow
here,
as
do we
long
know
as
when
they're sapping
Bannon
all
will
of its
testify?
energy.
In
You best put a stop
in
to it.
his trial or here? Either way, I don't know the answer, Nancy. I want to say thank you to Kevin Gouldy for gifting a subscription at joinpackman.com. If you are just joining us, if you're new here, or if you're just confused, we are primarily viewer supported. I would love for you to go to my website, joinpackman.com. You have a number of different memberships available, monthly and yearly. We also have coupon codes. One coupon code is indict. Should be obvious to me, given what we're watching today. If you don't like that one, there's another coupon code, Obamna. That one is actually even more significant. Incredible stuff. And I've been doing the best I can to thank absolutely every single person who's inside. And I will continue to do so as we get ready to reconvene here in the House hearing. David Makes Sense is Mike Cooper's idea. My new show name suggestion is Ducats with David. That's another idea. Many ideas. Some of them good, I would even venture to say. Let's see if I have any other super chats for everybody. Let's see here.
David, sir, thank you so much for taking my call and all you do. Real quick, so I'm going to be flying out to New York. What's the best bagel place to go to? And also, what is the best bagel in your opinion? And thank you so much for taking my call. And
Okay, so it's hard to say. I mean, like, there's no one best bagel place in New York. New York's pretty big, you know, so the one best bagel place. It's like, what place has the best coffee in New York? Okay, there's a couple different things. One, if you're in Manhattan, on the Lower East Side, there's a place called Russ and Daughters. It's not cheap. There will be a long line, but it's excellent if you like smoked fish. So it's really a critical experience. If you're kind of in a more, neighborhood area, although everything's a neighborhood, I don't know, a more quaint area, if you are in the Borum Hill area of Brooklyn, my stomping grounds, I would suggest Smith Street Bagels and also Court Street Bagels. Different style bagels, and I think I like to typically judge a place by your sort of standard lox, right? Which is you've got your smoked salmon, cream cheese, plain, scallion cream cheese is fine, chive cream cheese can be good, and nice slice of tomato, a little bit of red onion, pickled red onion, and capers if you like them. Drop a little bit of lemon juice on it. I'm not big on capers personally, but yeah, that's usually what I judge places by. But it's all up to you. That's the great thing about America. You get whatever you want. Okay? How about a simple name? The Finance Show. Yeah, maybe. We are primarily confused. David, sir, I'm surprised the Republicans haven't blamed January 6th on Biden. Fair. What are the odds Trump runs again? I think very low.
One batch of party crashers and another one
Dave,
shows
regarding
up on
the stats on trans folks, a broad report said 80% of people don't personally know a trans person. Critical for changing hearts and minds. All right, well, that is data, if it is accurate. David, sir, have you had Court Street Grocery? If so, what's your go-to toasted sandwich? I have not. I can't say I've had the pleasure. We're almost back. Erica sends a $20 super chat. The Dude says, have you seen the 2024 slogan for the cultists? Trump 24, the Revenge Tour. I have not seen it. How about Dave's 2 cents? Not a bad idea. Thanks to Terry Tuerin, who has just gifted a subscription at joinpackman.com. Over on Twitch, nothing happening on Twitch. We do have a new leader for lifetime gifted subs. It is Skittle Stew with 589 gifted subscriptions. An incredible number, an incredible accomplishment, I must say. Other voicemails. Let's see if we can sneak them in.
Hey, David. If Donald Trump were once indicted on the Department of Justice, then the trial, as far as I know, would be televised. There's no cameras allowed. Do you know if there's any way to allow cameras? Because I feel like that would be...
Yeah, basically up to the judge. and I don't remember the rules on. Do federal cases never have cameras in the courtroom? I'm trying to remember if that's the thing. I'm sure someone in the audience would know that. Are there never cameras in federal courthouses? I remember this was an issue with a couple of trials we've talked about, like Michael Cohen. People are saying that that's correct. No cameras in federal court. Pac-Man Payola. I like that one. That's a good one. Thanks to David King for signing up at joinpacman.com, as well as Randy England, new members 674 and 675. Guys, we've never had a number like this, ever. Sir, if you're looking for a financial expert, I know of a Florida billionaire with ties to New York. That's an interesting. Deepak, there's a competitive Dem primary in Manhattan with 2 Dem dinosaurs and change candidate Suraj Patel. Okay, I will look into it. I'm not following any local races right now. Let's listen.
The diet. First chair, Benny Thompson out with positive COVID diagnosis. We heard him make a statement at the beginning. Vice Chair Liz Cheney will be out of the minute.
I now recognize the gentleman.
Actually, let's do the PBS feed.
As the gentleman from Illinois.
Left at the recess just after President Trump's 224 tweet attacking the vice president. By this time, the president had been in his dining room for an hour. I want you to just think what you would have done if you were in his shoes and had the power to end the violence. You would have immediately and forcefully told the rioters to stop and leave. Stop and leave. Done. As you heard, that's exactly what his senior staff had been urging him to do. But he resisted, and he kept resisting for another almost 2 hours. In the meantime, all the president did was post 2 tweets. One at 2:38, and the other at 3:13. One said, quote, "Stay peaceful." The other said, quote, "Remain peaceful." The president already knew that the mob was attacking the police and had invaded the Capitol. Neither tweet condemned the violence or told the mob to leave the Capitol and disperse. To appreciate how obvious it was that President Trump was not meeting this moment, it's helpful to look at the real-time reactions of his own son, Don Jr., to the first tweet, captured in a series of text messages with Mark Meadows.
Right.
I warn the audience that these messages contain some strong language. As you can see, Don Jr. first texted Mr. Meadows at 2:53. He wrote, "He's got to condemn this shit ASAP. The Capitol Police tweet is not enough." Mr. Meadows replied, "I am pushing it hard. I agree." Don Jr. responded, "This is one you go to the mattresses on. They will try to fuck his entire legacy if it gets worse." Here's what Don Jr. told us he meant by "go to the mattresses."
Oh, here we go.
258, when you say that that Mr. Meadows needs to go to the mattresses on this issue, when you say go to the mattresses, what does that mean?
Isn't it go to the...
It's just a reference for going all in. I think it's a Godfather reference.
Oh my God.
Sean Hannity agreed, and he also turned to Mark Meadows for help after the president's second tweet. As you can see, Mr. Hannity texted at 3:31 to say Trump needed to deliver a statement to the nation telling the rioters to leave the Capitol. Mr. Meadows responded that he was, quote, on it. Don Jr. and Sean Hannity were not the only ones who implored Mr. Meadows to get the president to speak to the nation and tell the mob to leave, to go home, go home. Throughout the attack, Mr. Meadows received texts from Republican members of Congress, from current and former Trump administration officials, from media personalities, and
Oh, it is mattresses. Fair. Okay.
President Trump's staff. They knew President Trump had to speak publicly to get the mob to stop. Let's look at just a few of these text messages. Fox News personality Laura Ingraham said, "The president needs to tell the people in the Capitol to go home." Former Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney urged Mark, he needs to stop this now. Fox News personality Brian Kilmeade said, "Please get him on TV, destroying everything that you guys have accomplished." When we interviewed White House counsel Pat Cipollone, he told us that he knew the president's 2 tweets were not enough. Let's listen to what he said.
Genius.
I think the question is human. The tweets were not
No, I believe more needed to be done. Okay? I believe that a public statement needed to be made.
When you talk about others on the staff thinking more should be done, or thinking that the president needs to tell people to go home, who would you put in that category?
Well, I would put
Burn everything they touch.
Pat
Keep us
Philbin,
warm,
Eric
too.
Hirschman,
Can't have one without the other. Remember that
overall
next time
Mark
you feel the heat.
Meadows, Ivanka, once Jared got there, Jared, General Kellogg. Probably missing some, but Kaylee, I think, was there, but I don't. Dan Scavino.
And who on the staff did not want people to leave the Capitol?
On the staff?
In the White House, how about?
I can't think of anybody,
Just Trump.
you know, on that day who didn't want people to get out of the Capitol once the, you know, particularly once the violence started. No. I mean,
What about the president?
Yeah.
she said the staff. So I answered.
No, I said in the White House.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. I thought you said who else on the staff.
This is interesting.
I can't reveal communications.
There you go.
But obviously, I think, you know. Yeah.
Let's see.
Yep.
Let's pause on that last statement. Although Pat Cipollone is being careful about executive privilege, there really is no ambiguity about what he said. Almost everybody wanted President Trump to instruct the mob to disperse. President Trump refused. To understand how inadequate the president's tweets were, let's examine his 238 tweet in more detail. For context, here's what was happening at that time.
They broke the glass? Everybody stay down! Get down!
Doors barricaded. There's people flooded the hallways outside. We have no way out.
We were just told that there has been tear gas in the rotunda, and we're being instructed to each of us get gas masks.
We went from a peaceful protest, and this is a very dangerous situation right now. That there are, I'm being told, these protesters on the inside are around both chambers, and there is now tear gas inside the Capitol Rotunda. In fact, members locked in the House are being instructed to put on masks.
Ms. Matthews, after President Trump's tweet about Vice President Pence, you told us you spoke to, immediately you spoke to Kaylee McEnany. What did you tell her, and where did she go afterwards?
After the tweet about the vice president, I found Kaylee and told her that I thought the president needed to immediately send out a tweet that condemned the violence that we were seeing, and that there needed to be a call to action to tell these people to leave the Capitol. And she agreed and walked over to the Oval dining room to find the president.
We interviewed Ms. McEnany and others who were in the dining room with the president, urging him to put out a statement. Ms. Matthews, Ms. McEnany told us she came right back to the press office after meeting with the president about this particular tweet. What did she tell you about what happened in that dining room?
When she got back, she told me that a tweet had been sent out And I told her that I thought the tweet did not go far enough, that I thought there needed to be a call to action and he needed to condemn the violence. And we were in a room full of people, but people weren't paying attention. And so she looked directly at me and in a hushed tone shared with me that the president did not want to include any sort of mention of peace in that tweet, and that it took some convincing on their part, those who were in the room. And she said that there was a back and forth going over different phrases to find something that he was comfortable with. And it wasn't until Ivanka Trump suggested the phrase "stay peaceful" that he finally agreed to include it.
The president resisted writing "stay peaceful" in a tweet. He told Mark Meadows that the rioters were doing what they should be doing, and the rioters understood they were doing what President Trump wanted them to do. President Trump's message was heard clearly by Stop the Steal organizer Ali Alexander. At 2:38, he told another organizer, quote, "POTUS is not ignorant of what his words would do." Rioters storming the Capitol also heard President Trump's message. In this video, you'll see surveillance footage from the rotunda that shows a group of Oath Keepers, including Jessica Watkins, who's been charged with seditious conspiracy. You'll hear her walkie-talkie communications with others as they share intelligence and communicate about President Trump's 2:38 tweet in real time. Again, we warn the audience that this clip also contains strong language.
Interesting.
CNN just said that they evacuated all members of Congress into a safety room.
There's no safe place in the United States for any of these motherfuckers right now, let me tell you.
I hope they understand that we are not joking around.
Military Principle 105. Military Principle 105. Cave means grave.
Trump just tweeted, "Please support our Capitol Police. They are on our side. Do not harm them."
That's saying a lot by what he didn't say. He didn't say not to do anything to the congressman.
Well, he did not ask them to stand down. He just said, stand by the Capitol Police. They are on our side and they are good people. So it's getting real down there. I got it on TV and it's looking pretty friggin' radical to me. CNN said that Trump has egged this on, that he is egging it on, and that he is watching the country burn 2 weeks before he leaves office.
True.
He is not leaving office. I don't give a shit what they say.
We are in the mezzanine. We are in the main dome right now. We are rocking it. They're throwing grenades. They're freaking shooting people with paintballs, but we're in here.
Someone's trying to rain on our parade.
Be safe, be safe.
I
God
ain't
bless
having
and
that.
Godspeed,
Send
and
them
keep
back and
going.
light that fire.
Get it, Jess. Do your shit. This is what we fucking lived up for.
Wow.
Everything we fucking trained for.
Took over the Capitol. Overran the Capitol.
Best put a stop to it.
Arrest them all.
We've now seen how President Trump's supporters reacted to his tweets. Mr. Pottinger, you told us you consider the tweets sent to this point to be, quote, wholly inadequate given the urgency of the crisis. What, in your view, would have been needed?
We've got company.
Yeah,
but I bet their ordinance
It
would
was
make for some
insufficient.
good lighter
I think
fuel.
what
Toss it under
could
the
count me
fire.
among those who was hoping to see an unequivocal, strong statement clearing out the Capitol, telling people to stand down, leave, go home. I think that's what we were hoping for.
Something a lot more definitive, not ambiguous, because he has that power over his folks. Ms. Matthews, you told us about a colleague who said during the attack that the president should not condemn the violence. Can you please tell us about how that went, about that moment and your reaction?
Yes, so a conversation started in the press office after the president sent out those 2 tweets that I deemed were insufficient. And a colleague suggested that the president shouldn't condemn the violence because they thought it would be, quote, handing a win to the media if he were to condemn his supporters. And I disagreed. I thought that we should condemn the violence and condemn it unequivocally. And I thought that he needed to include a call to action and to tell these people to go home. And a debate ensued over it. And I became visibly frustrated. And my colleague colleagues were well aware of that. And I couldn't believe that we were arguing over this in the middle of the West Wing, talking about the politics of a tweet, being concerned with handing the media a win when we had just watched all of that violence unfold at the Capitol. And so I motioned up at the TV and I said, do you think it looks like we're effing winning? Because I don't think it does. And I again reiterated that I thought that the president needed to condemn the violence because it didn't matter if it was coming from the left or the right, that you should condemn violence 100% of the time.
Correct.
We've heard this evening how everyone in the president's orbit was pushing him to do more, to tell the mob to leave the Capitol. One of those people was Republican leader Kevin McCarthy. He managed to get the president on the phone and told him to call off his supporters. As you will hear, the president refused, and so Leader McCarthy reached out for help to Ivanka Trump, who was at the White House, and Jared Kushner, who that afternoon had just arrived back on a flight from the Middle East.
So at some point in the afternoon, Mr. McCarthy placed a phone call to Mr. Scavino's desk line, and it was transferred to the president. Is that correct? That's generally what I recall. Okay. Were you involved in transferring that call?
Well, that's all of the taking.
Yes.
And there's more fuel for the fire.
Where was the
Right on
president
time.
at the time that he took
You
that
know
call?
what to do.
He was in the dining room.
Would you personally reach out to the president for more support?
I've already talked to the president. I called him. I think we need to make a statement, make sure that we can calm individuals down.
Did Mr. McCarthy indicate that he had been in touch with President Trump?
He indicated that he had some conversation. I don't recall whether it was with the president or somebody in the White House, but I think he expressed frustration that not taking the circumstances seriously as they should that moment.
I asked Kevin McCarthy, who's the Republican leader, about this, and he said he called Donald Trump. He literally got through to Donald Trump, and he said, you have got to get on TV, you've got to get on Twitter, you've got to call these people off. You know what the president said to him? This is as it's happening. He said, well, Kevin, these are my people. You know, these are Antifa. And Kevin responded and said, no, they're your people. They literally just came through my office windows, and my staff are running for cover. I mean, they're running for their lives. You need to call them off. And the president's response to Kevin, to me, was chilling. He said, well, Kevin, I guess they're just more upset about the election, theft than you are. And that's, you see widespread reports of Kevin McCarthy and the president having basically a swearing conversation. That's when the swearing ends, because the president was basically saying, I'm okay with this.
Leader McCarthy, the President of the United States has a briefing room steps from the Oval Office. The cameras are hot 24/7, as you know. Why hasn't he walked down and said that now?
Flame.
I conveyed to the president what I think is best to do, and I'm hopeful the president will do it.
And have you spoken with his chief of staff?
I've spoken to the president, I've spoken to other people in there, and to the White House as well.
Who else reached out to Ms. Trump that you know of that afternoon about the attack on the Capitol?
I believe at one point McCarthy did.
Someone heard my phone ringing, turned the shower off, so I relationship
Nice work. But we got more hostiles on the way. Let's get to it, Guardians.
Anything you could do to help, I would appreciate it. I don't recall specific asks, just anything you could do. Again, I got the sense that they were scared.
They meaning Mr. McCarthy and people on the Hill because of the violence?
I think he was scared, yes.
Think about that. Leader McCarthy, who was one of the president's strongest supporters, was scared and begging for help. President Trump turned him down. So he tried to call the president's children. Republican House member Mike Gallagher also implored the president to call off the attack.
Mr. President, you have got to stop this. You are the only person who can call this off. Call it off. The election is over. Call it off.
President-elect Joe Biden also went live on TV to demand that President Trump tell the mob to leave.
I call on President Trump to go on national television now to fulfill his oath and defend the Constitution and demand an end to this siege.
It was a desperate scramble for everyone to get President Trump to do anything. All this occurred, the president still did not act.
Thank you, Mr. Gilbert. President Trump finally relented to the pleas from his staff, his family, and from Capitol Hill for him to do something more at 417. 187 minutes, more than 3 hours after he stopped speaking at the Ellipse. As he stopped speaking to a mob that he had sent armed to the Capitol. That's when he tweeted a video telling the rioters to go home, while also telling them that they were special and that he loved them. By that time, although, violence was far gone. Law enforcement had started to turn the tide. Reinforcements were on the way, and elected officials were in secure locations. The writing was already on the wall. The rioters would not succeed. Here's what was showing on Fox News, the channel the president was watching all afternoon.
Back to Brett Baer with more information now. Brett, what do you have?
Our Pentagon team, Jen Griffin, Lucas Tomlinson, confirming the Defense Department has now mobilized the entire D.C. National Guard, 1,800 troops. Take several hours, as I was mentioning before, to get them up and running. The Army Secretary Ron McCarthy is setting up a headquarters at the FBI. You just heard from David Spunt that the FBI is also sending troops to the Capitol.
No coincidence that President Trump finally gave in. Went out to the Rose Garden at 4:03. His staff prepared a script for him to read, but he refused to use it. As you can see on the screen, you can see the script is stamped "President has seen." The script said, quote, "I'm asking you to get the Capitol now to go home in a peaceful way." The president was urged to stick to this script, but he spoke off the cuff. Eric Hershman and Nick Luna went with the president. Film the message to the Rose Garden. Let's hear what they had to say and see the never-before-seen raw footage the president recorded.
Ultimately, these remarks that we're looking at here in Exhibit 25 were not the remarks that the president delivered in the Rose Garden.
But that's why
Do
we
you know
have to
why the
celebrate
president
what we
decided
got.
not to use these?
Enjoy the bonfire.
I don't know, sir. No, I do not know why.
Did the president use any written remarks to your knowledge, or did he just go off the cuff?
To my knowledge, it was off the cuff, sir.
Chase? When you're ready, sir.
Tell me
when you're ready, sir.
who's behind me?
He's gone around. We're all clear now.
I know your pain. I know you're hurt. We had a election. Let me see. I know your pain. I know you're hurt. We had an election that was stolen from us. It was a landslide election, and everyone knows it, especially the other side. But you have to go home now. We have to have peace. We have to have law and order. We have to respect our great people in law and order. We don't want anybody hurt. It's a very tough period of time. There's never been a time like this where such a thing happened, where they could take it away from all of us, from me, from you, from our country. This was a fraudulent election, but we can't play into the hands of these people. We have to have peace. So go home. We love you. You're very special. You've seen what happens. You see the way others are treated that are so bad and so evil. I know how you feel. But go home and go home in peace.
When I got there, basically the president just had finished filming the video, and I think he was basically retiring for the day.
Was there any discussion about the president releasing a second video that day?
Not that I recall. When he finished his video, I think everyone was like, day's over. People were pretty drained.
Were pretty what?
Drained.
When we say day over, there were still people in the Capitol at that point, weren't there?
There were people in the Capitol, but I believe by this stage, law enforcement, I'd have to go back and look, but I believe law enforcement was either there or moving in or going to take charge. And I just say people were emotionally drained by the time that videotape was done.
Emotionally drained? At the White House? Here's what was happening at the same time at the Capitol. We warned the audience that this clip also contains strong language and violence.
Keep pushing, don't lose the momentum. Another officer unconscious. The church. What church?
Everybody, we need gas masks. We need weapons. We need strong, angry patriots to help our boys. They don't want to leave.
Patriots.
Guests. Why don't you clear him on out of here? We got a bonfire.
While President Trump refused to even lift another finger to help, other leaders honored their oath and acted to clear the Capitol
want some of that fire for themselves.
Session.
Knock
For
them down a
instance,
peg.
here are never-before-seen photos and video of congressional leaders in action during the attack. The video is a portion of a call they had at approximately 4:45 with Acting Secretary of Defense Chris Miller.
Give us the okay so we can go back in session and finish up the as soon as possible.
We've got
Mr.
company.
Secretary and
But I
Senator
bet their
Schumer,
ordinance would make
some
us a good
people
lighter
here in the
fuel.
Capitol Police
Toss it
believe
onto
it
the
would
fire.
take several days to secure the building. Do you agree with that analysis? So what is the earliest that we could safely resume our proceedings in the state of Massachusetts? The earliest we could safely resume?
The Vice President also worked the phones from his own secure evacuation location, including conversations with Acting Secretary of Defense, Miller, and other military leaders, well past President Trump's 417 video. Let's look at some never-before-seen photographs of the Vice President during this critical time, and hear about the Vice President's conversation with military leaders to secure the Capitol and ensure everyone was safe.
Vice President Pence, there were two or three calls with Vice President Pence. He was very animated, and he is very explicit, very direct, unambiguous order. There was no question about that. And I can get you the exact quotes from the world records. He was very animated, very direct, very firm. And he said, get the military down there, get the guard down here, put down this situation, etc.
As you heard earlier in the hearing, the President did not call the Vice President or anyone in the military, federal law enforcement, or DHS. Not a single person. The General Miller did hear from Mark Meadows. The contrast between that call and his calls with Vice President Pence tell you everything you need to know about President Trump's dereliction of
More
duty.
taking or showing up on my scanners. Hunt them down or that
He
bonfire
said-
will never grow.
This is from memory. He said, we have to kill the narrative that the Vice President is making all the decisions. We need to establish the narrative that think so.
While President Trump and his advisors were trained, other leaders upheld their oaths
Nice work.
to do the
We
right
got more
thing.
hostiles on the way.
Maybe it was
Let's get to it,
exhausting to get
Guardian.
the president to put out that video, but think about the law enforcement officers who were attacked by the mob. President Trump had summoned them himself to Washington. And what about President Trump? He watched TV, tweeted, called senators to try to delay the count of electoral votes, called Rudy Giuliani, he argued with his staff who were insinuating, who were insisting that he should call off the attack. Ms. Matthews, what was your reaction to President Trump's message to the mob at 417?
I was struck by the fact that he chose to begin the video by pushing the lie that there was a stolen election. And as the video went on, I felt a small sense of relief because he finally told these people to go home. But that was immediately followed up by him saying, "We love you, you're very special." And that was disturbing to me because he didn't distinguish between those that peacefully attended his speech earlier that day and those that watched cause violence at the Capitol. Instead, he told the people who we had just watched storm our nation's Capitol with the intent on overthrowing our democracy, violently attack police officers, and chant heinous things like "Hang Mike Pence. We love you, you're very special." And as a spokesperson for him, I knew that I would be asked to defend that. And to me, his refusal to act and call off the mob that day and his refusal to condemn the violence was indefensible. And so I knew that I would be resigning that evening. And so I finished out the workday, went home and called my loved ones to tell them of my decision and resigned that evening.
Thank you. Indefensible. Let's hear what some of your colleagues in the press office told us about their reaction to this same
Can't
417
keep those
message.
rotten taken away, can we?
I felt
Drop
like it
them
was
out. Make them
the
regret coming
absolute
back.
bare minimum of what could have been said at that point or something on camera. What else do you think should have a more forceful dismissal of the violence, a more forceful command to go home, a more forceful respect for law enforcement, even a comparison to the respect that we have given law enforcement as it relates to what was done to them in the prior summer.
Nice work, but we got more hostiles on the way. Let's get to
And
it,
I
Guardian.
thought it was important that an acknowledgement be given to the U.S. Capitol building itself, what it's a symbol of, what it means, not only the people that work there, but to the American people generally, and the work of Congress that by law needed to be conducted that day.
Do you wish, in hindsight, that the president had asked the protesters to leave the Capitol earlier than he ended up asking them to do that?
Of course, I would love if the go-home message would have happened earlier in the day.
President's words matter. We know that many of the rioters were listening to President Trump. We heard from one last week, Stephen Ayers. Let's listen to what he had to say about the 417 message from the president and see how rioters reacted to the president's message in real time.
When we were there, as soon as that come out, everybody started talking about it, and it seemed like it started to disperse, some of the crowd.
I'm here delivering the president's message. Everybody go home.
That's all.
Just as Mr. Ayers said, police were still fending off the last throes of the brutal assault.
As kind of weird as it is to be like, oh, he says go home, let's all go home. That's weird. Like just some guy on a video said go home. We have to remember, they're also there because he told them to be there. It's all crazy.
At 6:01, just 1 minute after the citywide curfew went into effect, he posted his last tweet of the day. After officers engaged in multiple hours of hand-to-hand combat, with over 100 of them sustaining injuries, President Trump tweeted at 6:01 and justifies the violence as a natural response to the election. He said, quote, "These are the things and events that happen when a sacred landslide victory is so unceremoniously, viciously stripped away from great patriots who have been badly, unfairly treated for so long. Go home with love and peace. Remember this day forever." He called the mob great patriots. He told people to remember the day forever.
Like it's a good day.
Absolutely no remorse. A few minutes later, at 6:27, the president left the dining room and he went up to the White House residence for the night. On the screen is the last photograph of the president that night as he went into the residence. As he was gathering his things in the dining room to leave, President Trump reflected on the day's events for the White House employee. This was the same employee who had met President Trump in the Oval Office after he returned from the ellipse. President Trump said nothing to the employee about the attack.
Took me a while to realize
He said only,
but that's
quote,
what makes them beautiful.
"Mike Pence let me down."
I guess that's what Solstice
Matthews,
is all
what was your
about.
reaction to President Trump's 6:01 tweet?
At that point, I had already made the decision to resign, and this tweet just further cemented my decision. I thought that January 6th, 2021 was one of the darkest days in our nation's history, and President Trump was treating it as a celebratory occasion with that tweet. And so it just further cemented my decision to resign.
Others agreed with your assessment of that tweet. Let's look at what they had to say.
Who asked you about this tweet before it was sent?
The president.
Tell us about that conversation and everything that you said and he said to the best of your recollection.
Sure. So he said, "What do you think of this?" And I believe I saw the text message or on his phone. And I remember saying to him, the wording on the first sentence, I guess it's one long sentence, but the wording on the first sentence would lead some to believe that potentially he had something to do with the events that happened at the Capitol.
Well, yeah.
What did he say?
I don't recall him saying anything in response to that. I believe that was the end of the conversation.
Did he change anything in light of your comments?
No, sir, he did not.
And what about this made you think that someone might perceive the president having a role in the violence at the Capitol?
It was my interpretation of the words. I mean, I'm not I don't write speeches or anything, but the phrase, "these are the things that happened," to me sounded as if culpability was associated with it, to me.
I don't think it's a patriotic act to attack the Capitol, but I have no idea how to characterize the people other than they trespassed, destroyed property, and assaulted the U.S. Capitol. I think calling them patriots is, let's say, a stretch, to say the least.
Is that all it is, a stretch, or just flatly wrong?
I don't think it's a patriotic act to attack the U.S. Capitol.
Would you call it unpatriotic?
Criminal? Unpatriotic, sure.
What happened at the Capitol cannot be justified in any form or fashion. It was wrong and it was tragic, and it was a terrible day. It was a terrible day for this country.
I thought it was inappropriate.
Why?
To my mind, it was a day that should be remembered in infamy. That wasn't the tenor of this tweet.
Despite the violence of the day, the effort to delay the certification continued. That evening, Rudy Giuliani called several of President Trump's closest political allies in the hour before the joint session resumed. Representative Jim Jordan, and Senators Marsha Blackburn, Tommy Tuberville, Bill Hagerty, Lindsey Graham, Josh Hawley, and Ted Cruz. We know why Mr. Giuliani was calling them because at 7:02, he left a voicemail for Senator Tuberville, which later became public. Let's listen to just the start of it.
Senator Tuberville, or I should say Coach Tuberville, this is Rudy Giuliani, President's lawyer. I'm calling you because I want to discuss with you how they're trying to rush this hearing and how we need you, our Republican friends, to try to just slow it down.
Slow down the testing.
To get these legislators to get more
I ain't
information.
having that. Send him packing and
Mr.
light that
Giuliani
fire.
did not even mention the attack on the Capitol. Instead, he was pushing on behalf of President Trump to get members of Congress
Our
to
bonfire
further
won't
delay the
grow as long as
certification.
they're sapping all of its energy.
Even though some
Let's put a
members
stop
did
to it.
proceed with objections, Vice President Pence and Congress stood firm and successfully concluded a joint session in the early morning hours of January 7th. Here are some of what members of the president's party said in the days and weeks after the attack.
There's no question about it. That President Trump is practically and morally responsible for provoking
We've
the
got
event.
company, but I bet
of
their
the day.
ordinance would make for some good
No
lighter
question
fuel.
about it.
Toss it onto the fire.
The people who stormed this building believed they were acting on the wishes and instructions of their president. And having that belief was a foreseeable consequence of the growing crescendo of false statements, conspiracy theories, and reckless hyperbole, which the defeated president kept shouting into the largest megaphone on planet Earth.
Violence, destruction, and chaos we saw earlier was unacceptable, undemocratic, and un-American. It was the saddest day I've ever had as serving as a member of this institution.
Madam Speaker, today the People's House was attacked, which is an attack on the Republic itself. There is no excuse for it. A woman died, and people need to go to jail. And the president should never have spun up certain Americans to believe something that simply cannot be.
Taking or showing up on my scanners.
Well, after 3 in the morning,
Hunt 'em down, or
Congress
that
certified the
bonfire will
2020
never grow.
election results. Soon after, this statement by President Trump was posted on Dan Scavino's Twitter account because the president's account by now had been suspended. As you can see, President Trump stuck with his big lie that the election was stolen. He did say there would be an orderly transition. We learned, though, that the statement was not necessarily his idea. Jason Miller, a campaign advisor, told us that after the joint session started, he heard nothing from President Trump or the White House about assuring the nation that the transfer of power would take place. So Mr. Miller took it upon himself to draft the statement and called the president at 9:23 that night to convince him to put it on. Let's listen to what he had to say about the call.
Nice work, but we got more hostiles on the way. Let's get to it, Guardian.
You would put in the statement, some particular word or phrase that you did not want included?
I'd say just that he wanted to say peaceful transition, and I said that ship's kind of already sailed, so we're going to say orderly transition. That was about the extent of just pushing up the conversation.
The last person President Trump spoke to by phone that night was Johnny McEntee, his head of personnel. Mr. McEntee told us that they talked about the events of the day and the multiple resignations by administration officials. The decision whether to resign was one that weighed heavily on people in the administration. On the one hand, people like Mr. Pottinger and Ms. Matthews here, as proud as they were to have served, refused to be associated with President Trump's dereliction of duty. But others were sincerely worried that leaving President Trump to his own devices would put the country at continued risk. Listen to what we heard about that tension from Pat Cipollone, from General Mark Milley, and Eugene Scalia, who was the Secretary of Labor.
And then after that, some people were resigning, obviously, over January 6th. We know who they were. Did I consider it?
Yes, could I do it? No. What I'm concerned about is if people in the council's office left, who would replace me? And I had some concerns that it might be somebody who, had been giving bad advice.
On the morning of the 7th, the decision I arrived at was that the most constructive thing I could think of was to see the cabinet. I thought that trying to work within the administration to steady the ship was likely to have greater value than simply resigning. After which point I would have been powerless to really affect things within the administration.
Gene thought that there should be a cabinet meeting. I don't know why. I think it probably has to do with how the president. Yeah.
Take out one batch of party crashes and another one shows
There
up
was
on
a couple
the
of calls where Meadows, and/or Pompeo, but more Meadows. How's the president doing? Like Pompeo might say, how's the president doing? And Meadows would say, well, he's in a really dark place. Like here's one, for example, on the 7th of January. So this is day after. Otis is very emotional and in a bad place.
Zero Secretary Scalia wanted President Trump to convene a cabinet meeting. He put his request in a memo to the president. Here's what it said. You can see that Secretary Scalia recommended that the president, quote, no longer publicly question the election results after Wednesday. No one can deny this is hard. Yeah. Secretary Scalia also highlighted the importance of the public knowing the president would invoke his cabinet in decision-making and not, quote, certain private individuals. Secretary Scalia did not say it. He was referring to Rudy Giuliani and the rest of the so-called clown car working with President Trump to try to overturn the election. Secretary Scalia understood that the president needed to do more to reassure the public about the last few weeks of the Trump administration. Mr. Pottinger, when you made the decision to resign, did you walk out of the White House immediately?
No, I wanted to first talk to my immediate boss, that was the National Security Advisor, Robert O'Brien. Robert O'Brien was traveling on the 6th. I reached him at about 4:30 p.m. And told him I was submitting my resignation. He accepted the resignation, but he also asked whether I could stay until he could get back to the White House, and I agreed to that. We both wanted to make sure that I was leaving in a responsible way. We still have foreign adversaries to worry about, hackers, terrorists, nation states, and I did not want to leave my chair empty, given that I was the top national security staffer in the White House. So I ended up staying at my desk through the night. When Robert O'Brien arrived back at the White House the next morning, the morning of the 7th, I debriefed with him and left the last time.
So you and I both share a passion for national security in the country. Can you share with me what's your view on how January 6th impacted our national security?
Well, when you have a presidential transition, even under the best circumstances, it's a time of vulnerability. It's a time of vulnerability. When you have a contested election, I was certainly concerned that some of our adversaries would be tempted to probe or test U.S. resolve. As an example, in late December, the Iranian government attacked the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad. They did that using some of their terrorist proxies. President Trump didn't handle that. He sent a very clear warning to the Ayatollah and his regime, which I think had a useful effect. I think that we would have handled other threats of that nature, and luckily no other threats materialized before the inauguration on the 20th. But our national security was harmed in a different way by the 6th of January, and that is
That's why we have to celebrate what we got. Enjoy the bonfire.
I think it emboldened our enemies by helping give them ammunition to feed a narrative that our system of government doesn't work, that the United States is in decline. China, the Putin regime in Russia, Tehran, they're fond of pushing those kinds of narratives. And by the way, they're wrong. We've been hearing for the entirety of U.S. history from kings and despots that the United States is in decline, and those kings and despots have been proven wrong every single time. But nonetheless, January 6th helped feed a perception that I think emboldens our adversaries. The other part I think is simply our allies. I heard from a lot of friends in Europe, in Asia, allies, close friends, and supporters of the United States that they were concerned about the health of our democracy. And so I think it's incumbent upon us to put their minds at ease, to put our own hearts at ease by investigating what happened on the 6th and making sure that it never happens again.
Look, I've always said democracies are not defined by bad days. They're defined by how they recover from those bad days. And that's what we're doing here, is to bring accountability to that so we can actually come back even stronger than when we went into January 6th. Ms. Matthews, as you left the White House for the last time that night, January 6th, what did you think Americans needed to hear from President Trump?
I think that the American people needed to hear and see him publicly commit to a peaceful or at least orderly transition of power. In the aftermath of the Capitol attack, it wasn't just enough for us to ask him to condemn the violence. He needed to agree that he would peacefully transfer power over to the incoming administration, because that's one of our fundamentals and what it means to live in a democracy. And so that evening when I resigned, the resignation statement that I drafted, I referenced this and I said our nation needs a peaceful transfer of power, in hopes that it would put some sort of public pressure on the White House and President Trump to publicly agree to an orderly transition.
Thank you. I yield to my friend from Virginia.
Thank you, Mr. Kinzinger. The staff who remained at the White House on the morning of January 7th.
All right, folks, that's going to do it for me. I did not realize it was going to go this long, and it's time for baby duty. That's D-U-T-Y, by the way. I want to make sure everybody's clear on that. Thank you for joining me. Tons of other streams that you can watch, and we will debrief from all of it tomorrow. All right? Thank you for joining me. See everybody very, very soon.
Heads up, someone's trying to rain on our parade. I ain't having that. Send them packing and light that fire. Looks like the Taken want some of that fire for themselves. Knock them down a peg so we can keep the festivities going. Company, but I bet their ordnance would make for some good lighter fuel. Toss it onto the fire. taking signals in the area. Must be drawn to the fire. You gotta handle them or this party's over. One batch of party crashers and another one shows up on the porch. Kick them off. Additional taken inbound. Find him and force him off this island. One batch of party crashers and another one shows up on the porch. Kick them off. Guardian. Now take out that last ugly so we can toss in the leaves and enjoy the fire. Fires are funny things. Burn everything they touch. Keep us warm, too. Can't have one without the other. Remember that next time you feel the heat.
What was it? Checking now. Sign, please. Transfer. Recruit. Goodbye. Give a little joy. Get a little joy. I never thought I'd live to see darkness return. This tower certainly smells different.
I guess it's official. Blue skies, dancing gardens.
joy. Zavala and Eris must understand that they are fighting for the same side. Give a little joy. Get a little joy.
She said she wanted to express herself, so...
That they are fighting for the same side.
Perhaps a barter is warranted.
Give the world what you want to receive.
I must admit, Guardian, very curious to see what you've got for me to crack open.
Zavala and Eris must understand that they are fighting for the same side. I never thought I'd live to see the darkness return. I never thought I'd live to see the darkness return. Let's take a look. Why not? Tell your friends about Eva.
Welcome to the EAZ. Seems like we got some uninvited guests. Why don't you clear them on out of here? We got a bonfire to build. I should have known the Taken would show up. We can't build the fire while they're draining its energy. Light them up! We've got company, but I bet their ordnance would make for some good lighter fuel. Toss it onto the fire.
I don't know. I've asked her, and she doesn't really have a reason. She just likes to sit next to me. I really understand it.
Conversation while you're eating, if it's like in front of you, right? Because if someone's talking, you can look. If someone's over here, I can't see and look over here. It's like that as possible.
Yeah. It might be she likes to watch people, and she likes to be able to.
She likes to go eat right. See that dumbass?
It might be that, yeah. People watching is good. Depends. Yeah, I guess it depends what you are. If it's good people watching, I would accept sitting next to each other. Okay, I think it depends on what you're doing. If you're having a full dinner, then I feel like you sit opposite. If you're getting coffee, you sit next to each other. True. Even lunch. Yeah. Often we get drinks. We don't get dinner. We get drinks. Oh, okay. That's different. That's fine. That's more like at a bar, you know. Yeah. Blackstar says, one of my favorite things from the season was the expansion of Smile's character. Who are y'all top 2 characters you'd like to see more from in terms of story? You can only pick 2. And Eris is probably my top 1. Student. Yes, English.
I want that course. She's literally just take the EDZ up for us to just like play on. Like,
because she's on the good cushion. That is pretty cool, yeah.
we hear how badass she is on any mission we played with her. She is super badass, so I would love to hear more about her.
Yeah, I know. It was a came to the
Huh?
this shit should be fucking what's your hero? Yeah, sure. What's he up to lately? Yeah, he gave us Trespasser again.
You know it's gonna get the cold that you like is gonna get shorter, and the hardness is gonna get longer. The Spider-Man. The original?
So strong. Well, not the original. That's the one that we brings a new enemy race. That's the one that goes. Okay, good.
It's gonna be the second place. They're gonna come and
sick. They all coming this time. They're coming on your turf. They're coming with that. Jasper Cohen said, do you think it's a mistake for Bungie to have players go blind to Arc 3.0? Shouldn't they set up some expectations to avoid a day one disappointment like Solar came across initially? I disagree with the second part of that, but I do think that they should reveal a lot of it at the time. It was such like a cluster to try and like instantly figure out everything on the fly, but also be doing new story content. So like, it was a weird balance between like trying to like do the missions and stuff, but then also being like setting up your solar build at the exact same time and like figuring out whatever. It was a lot to process all at once. Like I would rather have some picture going in. I'm not saying like I don't want to like critique it and be like this sounds like this is gonna suck, which I'm sure people would do, but I don't think there was a disadvantage to talking about Void as early as they did, so I don't really understand this desire to like keep something like this until live. I think the issue with Void is everyone sort of made these bills in their head and then it didn't play out as they wanted it to and then got whiny about it. So I don't know, it's like the first impression of the Void it's like, by the way, your Warlocks are about all this air stuff. Like, that's all they kind of have.
Keep those rotten
It's sort of
taken
a
away, can we?
okay.
Drive them out. Make them regret
Because I
coming
sort of
back.
basically have the impression of Solo because Leon is on the day of the release, so very inconvenient. What happened? Very inconvenient. I mean, I've never ended Solstice dramatically underpowered, like at least the first few days, because it didn't instantly, come alive like Floyd, but then people figured out, builds, and people figured out that incandescent was a thing, and passive restoration was a thing, so like, I don't even know what's more powerful now, because Floyd lost a bunch of artifact mods, so, like, it was just very strange to kind of help to figure out all this on the fly, and be like, okay, what are sword stacks,
We got more hostiles on the way. Let's get to it, Guardian.
Like, why is also different than it was very confusing to try and have it all dumped in immediately. And it was also compounded by the fact that you're dealing with the aerial stat change, so like the sandbox had changed and you're dealing with what's good and bad in Solar 3.0. So I think all that kind of blurred into it because the reception wasn't like I really enjoy Solar right now. But I also got to it quite late, and also I think it, just like Void, it is propped up heavily by artifact mods during that season. So it's going to be interesting once you get Arc 3.0, because it will probably have some artifact mod during that season that makes it, better than the other subclasses. It'll be interesting once all those artifact mods are gone. Like, what comes to the surface is just the build itself, like the 3.0 is by itself. I think they're going to keep rotating though. Like, I think you're going to just keep changing it around the deck eventually, you know what I mean? And, like, I think they'll cycle stuff in, but I think Void lost more in the artifact switch. There were like 4 or 5 really good Void artifact mods, whereas Solar is like pretty much just classic restorations is the main one, and then maybe one of the ones that exotic generate wells or something. But like, I think Void had a lot more better artifact mods in general than Solar is going to lose. Like, the classic restoration is big, but I think that's going to kill really strong on builds with not being able to heal. It depends, like the heal on demand for like something like a Hunter is just insane. Like, Starlight Titan is still going to be pretty strong in Solar 3.0 just by itself. I mean, it's going to be trash. I think it's going to be much more reliant. I do have to say I'm thinking with how like Ad-Density is, because I like it because there's lots of ads because you need to use Solar Point to deal with them. But I also feel like
those flames are burning hot, Guardian.
for the time it's
Take
okay,
out that last exit so we can toss
just
in the
have
leaves and
cause
enjoy
some
the fire.
hammers and you're making sunspots is fine. With the Hunter, I think we'll switch to Assassin's Cowl. You're just going to get the base the same effect as Classy Restoration. I'm concerned you're going to be restricted to certain exotics if you're trying to do hard content to gear survival up. We'll see. Like, I'm very interested in how it goes without, well, if they just introduce like other artifact mods that sort of direct you to a certain subclass each sort of season. I don't know, it's crazy on Hunter now. It's like Urma's old Urma's even better on demand for like 8 seconds or whatever you get your dodge down. I never had anything like that. I think they do need more healing options, but I'm not surprised that this is not like a permanent thing for them.
Fires are funny things. And
Taylor
everything they
Brown
touch,
says,
keep us warm
with how
too.
much Paul hates Blue
Can't
Eggers,
have
I
one
feel like
without
that's
the
for
other.
me to do.
Remember
I
that
think we'll
next
have
time
to
you
wait
feel the
until
heat.
after the final shape DLC for those to be removed as it drops again. Cheers to quality underneath the roof. I don't understand. Like, I know we've had this whole like Bungie's getting over criticized thing, and like one of the things they keep saying is here's how to give like valuable feedback, and one of the things they say is don't propose solutions. I agree with that about a lot of things, and I know that development is very hard in aspects that I don't understand, except for blues, because there are so many like just common sense things for the probable blues that I do not understand why they will not or cannot implement them. Like, the main 3 are stop dropping blues when you hit the soft cap and they stop being useful. An auto dismantle option, which like literally Marvel's Avengers and Outriders had on like day 1 for like only pick up, good above the a certain rarity, or just even the most basic thing of all time, blues don't go to the postmaster. Like, any of these would be just like a, 90% improvement over the problem. And like they do so many other quality of life fixes in this game, and I do not understand their obsession with like refusing to change pretty much anything about blues. The only change they made is that they don't give you like 2 or 3 blues at the end of playlist matches now. But like the reason I'm like reheated about this is because Solstice makes you play all these activities, and if you're doing all these world activities like strikes and dares, like you just amass so many blues from everything. Like you have to stop what you're doing every 2 activities to clear out yourself, clear out your postmaster, and like it never changes. Like this is a very like real problem that affects all players that I just don't get why they're married to blues to the degree they are.
And in D1, at what point did green stop dropping?
Eventually they did. Didn't they have an auto dismantle, or was it when you hit a certain level? I couldn't remember if it was if you hit a
I think in vanilla it was once you hit a certain level it was only blues that were dropping. But I also feel like at a certain point I feel like there was an auto dismantle for when you ran over a green, right?
They did do auto dismantle eventually. I just didn't know if that was triggered by your level or something. But like I think these are more prominent greens ever were back then. So I don't.
Technology is there. Of course, they'd have to put in a toggle there, so you could choose, because I'm sure some people want to maybe keep blues for some specific reason because they're trying to get some.
Maybe they just want you going to the postmaster, which is right next to the Eververse store.
Oh my god!
Just to arrive and be furious that all your good loot has come on and it's full of blues. It puts you in the mood to buy something.
Lady McLanderson says, which of the following is the best marsupial? The kangaroo, the wombat, the bandicoot, the koala, the opossum, or the Tasmanian devil? The cutest? What was the question? Which is the best? Best. The best.
I feel like it's not going to be opossum, but
Tasmanian devil is extinct, right?
Probably was.
Tasmanian tiger is extinct.
Oh, okay.
Tasmanian devil is what Taraba's modeled after.
Okay.
It's got a very, very strong bite. I think it's maybe I'll be corrected. It is one of the strongest, like, pounds per square inch or something like its bite. Just take off your arm. It's like this giant rat thing. Just bite your arm.
That's what I'm saying.
That's what sound like the best.
Tiny rat that can bite your arm off.
It's nature shears.
I've heard that Australian opossums look different to the possums we're thinking about.
Our are actually cute.
Alright, no, let's bring it up.
Alright.
And I think possums are also cute.
I mean, koalas, I would have said yes, but now that I know that they're riddled with STDs, I kind of don't want to touch them.
Bring it up, Mylan. Give us that possum.
Your possum's so much better. That's not fair.
Look how cute our possums are.
Cute possums. Can you bring one up? Zoom it in.
Or is this like an Australian thing where they like secretly kill you?
Yeah, they do sound
like awful.
I would say cuter than our possums, but not necessarily cute on their own merit.
Yeah, that's pretty cute. Tell me it's not cute.
That's cute.
Yeah, that's cute.
Floating island in the sky.
Why your possums?
Gotta say, Ikora's always full of surprises. Show those squatters the door and get this party started.
Australian possum cute.
I like the little walk.
Take it,
Like a little huddle.
Our bonfire won't grow as long as they're sapping all of its energy. Let's put a stop to it.
I think it's the tail that's the real turn off. They're like dancing. Yeah, they got a thick rat tail. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very cute.
Look at him. Yeah, that is pretty cute.
Some Disney character. Yeah, Pixar character right there.
They sound feral though, but they do fun at night. They don't sound like someone being bad. Yeah,
not fighting. Are they the
if you're camping in the bush, it is actually terrifying. And you're like,
We've got company. But I bet their ordnance would make for some good lighter fuel. Toss it onto the fire.
With like all these marsupials, like just keep putting the smaller one and the next biggest one until you have all of them.
Yeah. Yes, in each other's pockets.
That it's the capybara.
She said capybara. Not on the list. Wait, is a capybara one of these two?
I think it's in every country.
It's a rodent.
And they are freaking amazing.
Yeah, that's South America. Compared to North America. Giant rats. I got a big kangaroo just because of the sheer number of hilarious videos on YouTube featuring kangaroos boxing, giving noogies to like people dressed in like furry outfits. Kangaroo Jack, sourcing some movies. Kangaroo Jack, the classic. Case Dog says, "What if Paul Tassi join it full time so we can offer him as a sacrifice to the cannibal Watts?" And I look forward to DCP Live's ARC 3.0 informational preview with the Bungie devs.
In the time I haven't been here, do we need more people than just prior now?
No, we just
I'm picking up
prior
more
now.
taken signals in the area. Must be drawn to the fire. You gotta handle them or this party's over.
Yes, that thing's inexpensive. That costs.
Yeah, you can eat me last, please.
Tam the Shattered says, "Well, I'm sorry if this question sounds inconsiderate, but I've always been interested in how you got into journalism. As in, what were your first steps into this field? I'm a big fan of you and the decent work."
Why would that be inconsiderate? Just a normal question.
Nice work, but we got more hostiles on the way. Let's get to it, Guardian.
I have like a random economics degree, but I started working for my school paper back at the University of Michigan, and I was doing movie reviews for them. And this was kind of when like blogging was invented, because I'm very old, and I just really liked the idea that you could just write something and publish it on the internet. So I got hired by a website startup, and then eventually that got bought by Forbes, and that was like 12 years ago. So I kind of lucked out because we're gonna really predict that. It's been, it'll be 12 years this fall, I think. So, and it's, I used to write like 3 articles a week, now I write like 25, so, or something like that. So, actually, no, it's 35, it's 7 days times 5. So yeah, everyone has their own path. There's not like a set path, and I don't think you need like X or Y degree. I think just, it's a lot of learning by doing, just writing to kind of establish a base of work for yourself. Okay, I got a question. How do you do that much volume? And you do that's 3 a week to 35 a week. You kind of make it a science where I know both like what will kind of be stories people are interested in that will be both things I want to write about, but also things that will like potentially track well on social media or Google. I do not do crazy long in-depth stuff other than like very rarely now. So like a lot of my pieces you'll see are 450, 550, 600 words. They're not like super long, and I can do those pretty quick now.
Yeah, but it takes a bunch of research, right? Like unless you, I guess you're keeping it up to date all the time, really, so you don't have to do as much.
Well, it depends. So like if it's something like Destiny, where I'm using like my afternoons or something to keep up with Destiny, so I know everything that's going on in Destiny at any given time, that's an article a day, every day, that I can do based on my own knowledge, and then just generally keeping abreast of stuff in gaming. I do have to kind of focus in specific areas where if like, I know everyone's talking about Stranger Things, so I make sure I watch that, and I, read all these interviews, do all these things, and I can get, 5-6 articles out of that. I can't be an expert in like literally everything, so like you'll see some games I just will never cover, even if they're popular. I almost never write about Call of Duty because I can't keep current with that, or Warzone, or like World of Warcraft, so I have to really kind of hone in on stuff, and then the ultimate hone in is the Destiny, obviously, and that's kind of how I build my base, and then that lets me write about, a good amount of stuff in my wheelhouse too. So it is hard to write nonstop, but it is even harder now.
And you've also got your YouTube channel,
that was something I started because I felt like
That's all I ever taken, and there's more fuel for the fire. Right on time.
Writing, and this show actually was a big contributing factor because talking 2 hours on video was not something I had done really, ever before being on the show a bunch of times, and a couple other podcasts. So it seemed like something I could do, and my videos are I would say, much lower compared to all of the content creators in the space, because they're like one-take things I can get done in an hour. But I felt like if you're a journalist, then you kind of need to have a presence in multiple places, and I wanted something that was kind of my thing and not necessarily attached to Worms too. So it's trying to grow this up in parallel. It can get a little overwhelming, but trying to balance everything.
Can you stall things up productively? Do you feel bad?
I'm very weak.
Come on, my lad. Mason Blue says, what is the best chicken sandwich you've had so far? And is it a national hot chicken sandwich? Follow-up question. What is the best bun to use for a chicken sandwich?
Would that technically be a nut bush chicken sandwich?
Yeah. Interesting. More research needed, I think. Whole wheat nut bush with the bush bread. I've never heard of a national hot chicken sandwich. I don't really know what's in that. Is that a sexual act? National hot chicken sandwich, probably. I don't know what the best bun is for a chicken sandwich. Isn't it just, don't you have it with like bread rather than a bun? Would you call that, like, would it be a burger if it's in a bun? Would you call that a sandwich?
That's an eternal international debate, I think.
If you put chicken in a bun, you call it a burger, yeah. Be chicken burger. No, chicken burger.
It's always called chicken.
No.
Sometimes chicken burger, I guess.
You can call it a chicken burger if you ground the meat up and made it like a burger patty, like turkey burgers. Yeah, that would be acceptable. I mean, I still don't give you the side of it, but I mean, it'd be acceptable. Ground chicken is just a weird thing. I've never been a fan. No, I wouldn't either. Just ground up some chicken, I'm like,
Those flames are burning hot.
I also don't like deli slices.
Take out that last onion so you can toss in the leaves and enjoy the fire.
Because you think about salmonella, that's why.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I don't know, potato bun, maybe? The best chicken sandwich I've ever had, though. I mean, chicken sandwiches don't even rate on, like, the best sandwich scale I've ever had. So it's hard to even, like, pick one. Chicken sandwich.
There's a chicken.
You know,
It's a chicken.
every fire burns out eventually. Took me a while to realize it, but that's what makes it
Shane
beautiful.
Clay says, who was the last person on the podcast
I guess
to touch
that's what
grass?
Solstice is all about.
Interesting. Wasn't me. I changed. I had to sharpen my mower blades today and then mow the lawn.
That's pretty. That's
it was right.
Yeah.
I got the grinder out. That was fun. It was like 95 degrees and I'm like spraying hot metal sparks all over the place. Fire hazard here in California. Hot metal sparks. Yeah. Oh man, but it's so fun. You feel like such a man. You're just like, Cito's Art says, hey Paul, how is the grass feeling?
We just went over this. It's too, okay, to be fair, it is too hot to go outside here. It is like 95 degrees every day, all the time. So I have no desire to touch grass. Okay,
You don't touch the grass.
touch grass every day. It's maybe out of the yard, but I don't know if that counts. I do not do dedicated grass activities.
Do you ever work from outside? Do you ever like bring the laptop out? Like
I do. I'm so married to my PC that I only work on my laptop if I have to.
Seems like we got some uninvited guests.
I would always ask,
Why
like,
don't
you
you
go to a
clear
coffee
them
shop,
on out of
like,
here?
hey,
We got a bonfire to build.
like, unless I absolutely have to. It's like part of the routine that I have like this whole setup. So
for a while during like the height of the pandemic and lockdown, I was setting a table up in my garage, like facing the road, so that as people would walk by, I'd say hi and like get like social contact in that manner. It was fucking sad.
that's kind of. I'm like, oh god, it's kind of wholesome that you had that desire though. So
It is wholesome.
yeah. Whereas I shut myself down for like 3 years and didn't talk to anyone. So
I was gonna say, with the amount of articles that you're putting out, like they don't feel like a coffee shop would. I feel like a coffee shop will distract you too much and get in the way.
I'm pretty good at like ignoring distraction. Like my wife and I are watching a show, like as I'm writing at like full volume, like it doesn't really bother me. Like I just at a lot of stuff outside of state of 85. But besides that, yeah, that one is our,
We've
you know,
got
that one
company,
or that.
but I bet
so,
their ordinance would make for some good lighter
I'm
fuel.
pretty okay with
Toss it onto
distraction.
the fire.
I just really like my routine and my setup, so that's why I don't really branch out that much. It works. You don't want to mess it up. Angelo Sullivan says, where can I watch your live podcast? Twitch? Yeah, Twitch. Twitch, like, let people know. Yeah, we do live stream this on Twitch. I don't know if Twitch will only live stream it to Twitch, and then it gets posted on YouTube. Like that. Yeah, for all the shows, actually. Yeah, it goes as well as like the audio goes up the next day. So yeah, like you can get a preview if you watch the night before. I think this one starts at 9 p.m. Eastern. What time is it for you guys? Yeah, I think 6 p.m. 6. West Coast time. Yeah. Also, the Patreon goes live earlier than the regular audio version. So if you don't watch the video version, but you want to get the audio version as fast as possible, also without any ads, then you get the Patreon version. It goes up usually several hours before the actual audio version. And the YouTube version goes up before the YouTube version. So, yeah, I listened to a podcast. They do all their ads at the beginning of the podcast, and it was like 8 minutes of podcast. I finally had to break down and subscribe to their Patreon. It's like, I couldn't take the 8 minutes anymore. And 8 minutes, damn. 8 minutes, and it's like, it's just like, yeah, but, you know, like, it's in a playlist, like, you're doing something, you know, it's a good podcast. There are a lot of questions about grass. Yeah, for any reason. Topical. Alright, last question of the night. Alright. M. Winter says, do you guys think Guardians truly make their own fates? With so many entries and stories in the lore about the last city falling, like Thanos, it seems inevitable. So do we actually have a chance to change the outcome, or is it predestined?
Well, that's all of the taking, and there's more fuel for the fire, right on time. You know what to do.
When it does end, that it ends on us finally. That would be just the best, because we just always unkillable, immortal, go about killing gods, just ended with like, you lose, and there's nothing you can do about it. So good. The Vex takeover. That was so weird. We don't make your own fate. Vex fixed your fate. I don't think it's inevitable, because there's the whole point of us that we're like outside the whatever pure system, so we can change things so things aren't inevitable even though they're supposed to be. I mean, yeah, that's the impression I've gotten, but allegedly that's why Destiny's called Destiny, although I think that's a retcon, but wasn't the whole naming thing like inside joke when it was like their Destiny after Halo, they never had a better name, so it just ended up. That makes the most sense out of anything. I read it. They didn't have any of this framework in place with like the vanilla story launch. Like they had to make up a lot of this stuff as the years went on. It wasn't like some 20-year master plan here. It's admirable, like how well they've done that too. No, they have. Yeah, they've done a good job of that for sure. Mylan, I think what happens at the end of Destiny, you beat it, and you lose, and then it pops up wasted on Destiny. The website pops up. How many hours you wasted to get to the point where you just lost it? This is good touch grass. Okay, guys, yeah, we like going touch grass. Like, I don't know, I'm waiting for next time me to draw. We'll see that. You reckon we'll get hints in Destiny about the new IP? Like, you reckon they'll put little posters up somewhere or Easter egg that like that and reach they put it. Yeah, like they did. Yeah.
We've got additional taken inbound. Find them and force them off this island.
It's too obvious. Yeah, I mean they'll plunder regardless. Maybe when they're ready to announce stuff, maybe a week before with a cheeky Easter egg somewhere. Yeah. I bet they're gonna need. Yeah. Cool. Well, they would
Episode 299. Complete for the books.
299. Next week
Yeah,
is
one batch of
episode
party crafters and
300.
another one shows up on the
And
porch.
I can confirm that we will have Ultman, a man, the Ultman, on next week. And we will also have Grant, Mr. S17. So it should be,
You know, that caught a whole bear making fun of somebody for something they ate on Twitter the other day. I couldn't believe how did that guy make fun of somebody else making fun of someone else eating something for their food choices.
Yeah, that should never happen.
Yeah, if you love eating anything, you should not eat one thing. Yeah, I saw it this time. Fulfilling prophecy. Last house, bro. Oh man, that's great. Well, it's gonna be fun. So yeah,
it will be fun. It will be expect no Destiny, pretty much, because Patrick is a budgie boy. He can't talk about Destiny. But fuck it.
You gonna spill the beans on the Lightfall.
But it'll be lots of exciting memories of 300 episodes, and of course, Planet Destiny before that. So it should just be like a big old party episode.
Yeah, so they're gonna get some of that space kush and for the show. Space kush. Yeah. Get some of that. Yeah, Egregore, Egregore and Silverback. Straight. Oh, now you talk about. Alright, well that is episode 299. Thank you so much for tuning in and hanging out. Shout out to our Patreon members and our Twitch subs for supporting the shows. All the shows on the feed. And yeah, thanks for watching. See you next week.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
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 Good news and bad news. Fire's big and tall, but so is our newest visitor. Cut him down to size and throw those leaves on the fire.
I guess I should check. You guys use Blue Engram yet? If you haven't, you guys gotta check out Blue Engram. It is so cool. We're not doing derelict fly then. Oh my gosh!
Every fire burns out eventually. Took me a while to realize it, but that's what makes him beautiful. I guess that's what Solstice is all about.
Well, you heard it here first, guys. More Shaq. You just click that link to give the channel a quick refresh. Give it this hot rate with DCB Live. Your view that helps me push towards Switch partnership myself. It's lovely to have you out here. Welcome in, everybody. Hope the podcast was fan-friggin-tastic. We are having a wonderful night out here on the Solstice grind. Oh my goodness, we got follows coming in hot from Heath, Angry Text, J-Rod. Thank you guys so much for the follows. You're amazing. If it's your first time in here, I'm Teach. This is a community built on kindness, and I love that you're here. We are guardians, and we love it doing guardian things. If good vibes and good times are one of your favorites, like it is mine, I think you're going to be pretty happy you're hanging this tonight. So again, thanks so much to DCP for dropping in with the big love. Y'all are amazing. We're going to have a great night, so thanks for coming in, everybody. Glad you're here. And we're going to go ahead and we're keep jamming. We're going to keep going. I'm trying to get my helmet done. We're about done with the business, so we're gonna do I was gonna buy one of these weapons to do on my thing, so I don't need Cal's mini tool, and I don't really need this is great. Drang. I want to hug. Drang would be up to 4. Jacob! Thank you so much for the follow, my friend. Appreciate that, very kind. Firefly would be up to 4. Hollow Down would be up to 4. I actually probably should do where's the my shotgun would be at 3. Yeah, let's do a shotgun. I really want to get a nice shotgun going on. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I guess I could try to roll another one and see if it turns out to be a red bar. What do I need next? Probably the scout rifle of Tears. Let's see if I get one. No. Which
we got a red bar shadow here. Well-rounded 1-2 punch. That actually is going to be pretty fun to use out of the throne roll. That one is not going to be fun to use, so we're going to skip that one. All right, cool. And actually, I guess I should probably roll another one because I've got enough junk for it. So we'll try an Austringer. Maybe an Austringer would be a good idea. Yeah, sure, let's do it. Austringer would be cool. Did not get a red bar. Bummer. Okay. Aerosol rangefinder. We'll pass on that. All right, we're heading out to do the throne roll activities. This is great. You don't want a hug? Ace in space. Dropping it hot with the follow. Thank you so much. Welcome in. I'll have to continue the public event rounds. Looks like there's one going on in the miasma. We're gonna head that direction. What was the hot topic on the podcast tonight? What was going on with it? What was the vibe? You shade your armor once you have the white glove. Yeah, totally Ace in Space. I've got shaders on my armor right now. Like this. I'm using a whole bunch of different shaders. Midnight Talon, Scowls of Shadow, Furnace Dreams is on there. And I've got white gloves on everything but the helmet. Which is what we're working on doing and getting done right now. Alright. Let's go get a public event. We got one coming in hot right now. Perfect. Oh, it's almost done. I gotta get shots of this guy before they nuke him. Oh, yeah, baby. Sold. Oh, that's a public evacuation right there, dude. Fate 2. Dropping out with the salt. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Tiger Alley, what's I've seen it darker, so I can't tell. Yeah, remind me, you're talking about the one that Charisma does, right? What shaders are those again? I can actually see, I can show you what they're like. Let's see. Oh gosh, I know one of them. There's like, they're ridiculously silly shaders. And I'm not going to remember a single one because I'm too busy thinking about, is this one of them? Your biggest problem with trying to do the charisma thing is that you might end up being stuck with, like, a lot of this Titan armor is leather texture. It's like you can see on the chest piece there, it's a leather texture, it's not armor bleeding. So that may be where you start to get a little bit of some struggle.
The taste of fire.
But as you can see, you can still do big, bright, beautiful shaders. Even with the glows on there. It just maybe you're gonna take finding the right shader that's gonna play with that more fabric-y texture that's on the pieces. Oh my gosh, that looks really cool. Look at that. Oh yeah, baby, that's nice. Precursor of X-Chrome, what a thought. Let's try that on this one. Does that look good on these two? Oh man. Yeah, that's spicy. Oh, we love it. Oh my gosh, we do. We love it so much. Alright, that actually might be, I might just leave that there. Just like, oh yeah, dude. Alright, that's tight. Or if we put that up here too, we can pull it off. Yeah, I mean, Mitch Matt's like crazy. I don't know if you've heard of Charismo, but you should look up Charismo. CHRIZMO. On Twitter, you'll see. I mean, that's his whole thing. He's kind of set the standard for what those looks end up looking like, which is pretty sick. Alright, we got, let's see, what else should I put on here? That's not bad, but it's not the right white, or not the right gold, rather. That's not quite there. Yeah, because that white is just too white. I just don't want my helmet to be bright white like that. So that what I'm looking to have done. And that's obviously far too black, so too bad. Oh man, if only we could have got like a nice, well, that's not bad. The gold is different. It's too yellow. mean, that's not bad, but then it's no gold at all. Alright, we might just be, how does that look? It looks silly on there? It looks a little silly. Yeah, none of these are really hitting the way I would hope they would. That nice warm gold that's on the armor is kind of tough to get on other shaders. Oh, there's a nice matte black with silver. Is there silver anywhere else on the gear? Or did I make it all
The
gold when I did
harvester
that?
hungers,
Inadvertently turned it all.
and its thirst will not be denied.
It'll be fine. I actually kind of like Midnight Exit on there. Alright, let's do it. We got Kill Anything Patrols all over the place. Where's our next public events? None right now. 0. Oh, that's too bad. Alright, we're gonna do these Kill Anything public events, or these patrols then. Try to get stuff done that way. Not familiar, check them out. Cheers. Yeah, Christmas was great. Christmas was great. Cyber Shady Games and Christmas special events. I would lose so bad. Mark. It wouldn't even be funny. This week of this grind has been getting back in touch with my Stasis Titan that I've just not used. I've just neglected. For so, I mean, there's the light subclass remakes have been too good. You know? It's been just one of those things, dude. Pretty nuts. Alright, let's see. Scorinskies are dying. I gotta keep it on public events though too. I'll tell you what though, something that's been absolutely wonderful to come out of this event, I gotta switch back to this one, is this hand cannon. This thing has been an absolute game changer. I rolled an ensemble headstone and I have been just super jamming on it. I know that everybody's like, oh, 120s. It's like, man, this one's pretty good. The right roll. Now, I don't have anybody on my fire team right now, so Ensemble's kind of a wasted perk, but when anytime you're not running solo, it's pretty great. Okay, fluorescent get out, nice. So we got public event come up this way. Alright, question is this going to be my last one? It might be. As many, I've been on the throne roll now for like, I don't know, what, like an hour, guys? And like, I have not seen really like any of the roaming, like Lucid
Another nightmare rises, but this one is stronger.
I've not been able to get any Qualicore stuff done, remember that? Remember when everybody's like, what's Qualicore? I don't understand. State Farm remembers. Whatever, is it Allstate that remembers? Who remembers? Is it State Farm or Allstate that remembers? And so I go with feeding for the SO, that's pretty good. I like that too. Oh, that's how it works with strangers, that's great. Pepperidge Farm remembers? Is that what it is? Is it Pepperidge Farm? Remember this thing no one cares about anymore? That's kind of how it feels sometimes. That's kind of how it feels sometimes. It is Pepperidge Farm. Okay, well there you go. I knew it was somebody. One of those companies. So check this out. So with Ensemble procs, watch this, you guys. If I'm jamming, I'm shooting these dudes, right? Like, we're getting kills or whatever. Look at this. It's like having Outlaw just for standing near people. Like, and the range is pretty far. Like, that's where it goes away. That's far. Like, you just have to be within this much area, this much range of somebody, and you can blam, and you get like, well, they just moved out of range. But if I stand next to this dude, like, you get really fast reload, just for chilling, which is like, that's pretty freaking sweet. So don't knock Ensemble, guys. And like on a 120, it makes a big difference. The range of it's really, really crazy. It's not like Firing Line. Firing Line is like a really tight range. I think everybody thinks Ensemble works the same way as Firing Line. That's not true. Ensemble works super differently. Bigger radius, more useful mid-game, like bonuses. And then it's just reload speed handling and stuff, so like it's actually beneficial to how you're gonna play. You can take advantage of the new perk too. D's nuts or whatever it's called, deft hands or something. I don't remember, dude. Alright, so there's one of those charges, which is good. We got that one in. And here's another one. That's two. Alright, so I'm going to try to make myself in charge of that process because that's what's going to make us able to actually get it done. I think it's just 2 per stop, right, that you have to worry about, or maybe there's a total like 5 or something you have to throw in these to make it work. Would be my guess.
I was surprised to see Gaul as your friend.
I'm sure he would prefer to be remembered as you knew him. Fearsome and terrifying. But I'm happy you saw him as I did. The finest mentor I ever knew.
Let's go skateboard. Are there the balls on here? Boy, they really hide them. Okay, there's one. There's one on here already? Yeah, there's one on here. Oh my gosh, yeah. That's probably what happened last time we didn't get it heroics. Last time we did this with Randy's, it didn't get heroic for some reason. And I was looking around for all the balls to ground, I was not seeing them anywhere. So I personally have already thrown 4 at it, so I wonder if it's 5. It must be 5. I actually don't know the very specific thing you have to do to make this a heroic. I know you have to throw the balls in the cart, but I don't know where they spawn or how you get them. I just end up looking for them on the ground, and sometimes they're there. Like that's one. Oh no, but I'm gonna die. Can I get res, teammates? No. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to do this before that. I'm gonna have to do. Oh, it's gonna get there. Heroic, it's 5. Okay, so it is just 5 balls. Oh my gosh, you're here!
It rises, a tide of dread cresting.
Is that 6? Oh, maybe I just did. Maybe that's 6. That would actually make sense. 2 in each thing. Heroic and complete. Let's go. please. Where's the random spawns, though? They're coming. We know they're here. Yeah. Let's go. Perfect. Okay.
Will remain standing thanks to your efforts. As always, we thank you.
I'm trying to remember why it's important that the throne world remains standing, and why Agora thinks that it's really important. Because, like, I mean, technically with Savvy gone, couldn't we just let this thing collapse? Wouldn't that also destroy a pyramid and, you know, really thwart the witness? And, you know, wouldn't there be a lot of advantages to, like, I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. We got a little red herring there on some back over to things. Alright. Come out of here with this. Alright. I think we do have to do, like, one more public event, probably. Would be my guess. And there's one having back there, so we're gonna do that. I think this should be the last one. Because, well, actually, we might still need to do 2 more. Because that might have put me up at 80s. Oh no, I got one right as I landed, so that is 2 more. This is the last one. Nice, that's great. That's perfect. Hey, boys. So this will at least get me one of the. Let me see. This will at least give me 1 kindling, I guess. Let's see where we are in this. Building events, yeah, 96%. So I just had to finish this one. 53% of that. So we do Wellspring after that. That should give me that one up. And then Sever missions.
A powerful nightmare has
We
risen.
can bust out a couple of Sever missions, or we can just do Vanguard Ops. That's also really easy. But it used to stress me out way more. Now it doesn't. Now it's pretty chill. my Titan? No way. Does doing campaign missions count towards throne roll activities? I'm like so behind on my Titan, dude. Oh no, bro. Oh no, dude. No Wellspring Prestige, dude. No, campaign missions don't count because obviously they don't. Why would they? Shoot. So much you made a Bravian? Oh, thank you. Indecision. Oh my gosh, that's such a cool name. GG's. GG's on the name. As long as I'm not lead, okay. Does anybody want to bring me into Wellspring? Big Daddy Teams 2125/join Fire Team Public. Sure does, Ikora. Sure does. I believe Gorilla probably. Also probably. They didn't target this. Oh yeah, that's definitely true. I haven't played this like campaign since February, really? And being a Titan main this season is like wild to me right now. My instincts are correct. This ability could be just what we need to solve this case. Oh my gosh, Ikora. Just what we need! Okay. What is this roll that you just gave me? Hot or unrelenting? It's a hot, no thanks. Appreciate the thought though. Alright, is that enough? Is that enough campaign progress that I can play Wellspring? Probably not. Titan Solar is a friggin' blast right now, dude. That's the biggest thing for me, is it's like, it's not... I guess I should just believe you, because you would know. Television Dinosaur, hey, that's not a bad television kill clip. Women, hi, gal. Well, hold the phone here, gang. Boy, if it was a range masterwork, this would have been darn near perfect. Sadly. There are better cannons that are not them. It is not enough campaign progress. Okay, well, let me see if any of the homies are still playing. Let's see. Cast some money or play. What do you guys do? You're probably reading. No, you're just doing two. You're just doing Zap Ninja. You want a third? You want to do some Wellspring? I don't want to, I don't want to interrupt. Maybe they're talking about special plan business. They're the same plan as Shadow Light. Alright. It's Caustic doing on our anniversary. Vanguard Ops, that's what I should go do. I'll go do Vanguard Ops, that's an easy. That is an easy one. Go do Vanguard Ops playlist. Easy breeze. I gotta be Void though. What that Void do? Gonna get my pinnacle. It's free, why would I not, you know? Keys. I'm gonna just use Lorelei for this one. I know that's like such a weird. You guys like that though? Like I have like this weird thing about like if it's I like need it to be 70 and 69. Like it bothers me. You know what I mean? Black. Alright, that's kind of tight. What do you like best about Solar? Is it paired with Lorelei? Serious question, not troll. No, I mean that's a good question. I'm having the most fun with bonk hammers on my Titan. So, but as a hunter main, I'm Titan maining this season because of a charity incentive that I had for Bungie's Game to Give event. But as a hunter main, I am loving Caliban's and proximity knives, to be perfectly honest. Like, a lot. I'm having way more fun with it than I probably should be. But it is a ton of fun. So, yeah, I'm like I'm enjoying myself with Titan, bonk hammers, but then also, like, that's my hunter maining self is obsessed with Caliban's and proximity knives and just getting radiance and flipping around and doing that. I think those things are the most fun. I don't even really use Flame Barrage for PvE like a lot of folks do. I still use 6-shot Golden Gun because I think against like hordes of ads, it's really fun to like shoot them with a goalie and then watch everybody explode. And then that's what obviously gives you your shots back, and you get more than one shot sometimes if you're really chilling. Oh my gosh, you have one shot to each. Nope. That cover worked really well for that goal, to be honest. Sure, yeah, it's big fun, big time fun. Oh. Oh my gosh. No! Sad. 10 nightfalls? Oh, it can be nightfalls too. So we can load up some GMs, but they count the same. It's 10, but it's 10 GMs. What's the weapon this week?
Our defensive perimeter around the Leviathan.
Everybody know what the GM weapon is?
Holds nothing in, nothing out. Your forces guard the helm as if it were part of their fleet.
You are a member of my war council. What manner of empire would I lead if your soldiers were not afforded the same protection as my own?
An empire doomed to ruin. We stand together, Empress.
I think it's good year 1 vibes, yeah. Yeah. We got an under 10, over 40 clears trying to get to. What were the rolls you were hunting? Oh, do you want that gilded, and that would help? Oh, you don't have it yet? I thought you got your gilded done. I thought we did it on Saturday. Oh, gilded Solstice. Okay, I thought you were talking about Conquer. I'm like, what do you mean? Pro, which I love. Yeah. Stats Pro 1 Pro is really good. Triple double. Is that triple tap 4 times? I vaguely remember that being a roll. My heart is so full that you're there, right? You're like, of course. Where else would it have been? Marion, you're doing it. Might as well help, right? That's what Saturn Destiny's all about. We gotta get people through stuff. Yeah. That's really good. Maybe after this, now's your moment, yo. What are my two? I have two rolls I've kept. Steady Edge Frenzy, that's my PvP roll. I think it's awesome.
The nightmares awaken, and so you become an eater of fear.
So easily bend to your will.
This nightmare is a snapshot of suffering, and only through inflicting more pain can we banish it from the Leviathan. A new nightmare rises, but do not fear. Destroy it as you have the others. Nightmares rise, and the harvester stirs to life, yearning for their pain.
My Leviathan will not so easily bend to your will.
Current of dread. A powerful nightmare has risen near you. I feel this nightmare's agony and terror. A moment of death stretched across time. It will only be released by more violence on another.
Vallis Forge. How fares our defensive perimeter around the Leviathan?
The blockade holds. Nothing in, nothing out. Your forces guard the helm as if it were part of their fleet.